Look at this number, 120 million. That's the bill Napoleon handed Prussia after a single war, in gold and silver, up front. But have you ever wondered who paid that money? How was it collected? And what did Napoleon do when it ran out? Because what I'm about to tell you will surprise you. It wasn't his enemies who destroyed Napoleon. His own financial system destroyed him. And once you truly understand this system today, you'll never look at history the same way again. When people talk about Napoleon, they always talk about the same things: Austerlitz, Borodino, Waterloo. Tactics, armies, victories and defeats. But nobody ever asks, how were those armies fed? Who paid the bill for those wars? By whom? How? And how many times? Today, I'm not going to show you the battlefields. I'm going to show you the ledgers. And the story you'll find in those ledgers is far darker and far more instructive than anything on the battlefield. By the end of this video, you'll understand this. Napoleon's greatest weapon wasn't his cannons or his strategy. His greatest weapon was his ability to finance the next war with the money from the last one. And that's exactly why the moment he stopped, it was over. 799. When Napoleon took power as first consul, he had a state in his hands, but it was hollow. The French Revolution hadn't just toppled a regime, it had destroyed an economy. The revolutionary governments found their solution in printing money. The logic was simple. They nationalized church lands and aristocratic estates. Then they printed paper money using those lands as collateral. It was called the assignat. In 1790, 400 million livres were printed. By 1796, 45 billion. Not 100% inflation, 25,000%. Think about it as a human story. You're a small baker in Paris. In 1790, a loaf of bread cost 2 livres. In 1796, the same loaf cost 400 livres. Every hour you work, every day that passes, whatever you have evaporates. Your paper money is burning, but you can't even burn it for warmth in winter because the value printed on it is worth less than the fuel it would make. The assignat officially collapsed in 1796. The government recalled all banknotes at 2% of their face value. So if you had 100 livres, you were left with 2 livres. That's the country Napoleon inherited. And unexpectedly, he did the boring but right thing. The Banque de France was established in 1800. Currency was pegged to silver. The printing presses were shut down. The tax system was rewritten from scratch. And Napoleon created France's first centralized professional tax collection organization. Money became trustworthy again. The economy began to breathe. But stability alone isn't enough to feed an army. Far more was needed. In the next section, we'll see how Napoleon found this money, and the solution was so radical it's still taught in textbooks today. Napoleon's financial philosophy fits in a single sentence: war must finance itself. This wasn't an abstract slogan. It was a concrete, ruthless, and highly functional system. After every war you win, you use the defeated country to pay for the cost of the war. Historians call this a war indemnity economy, and Napoleon turned this system into an art form. Bavaria is defeated. It pays indemnities. Austria collapses at Wagram, 85 million francs. Prussia is crushed at Jena, 120 million francs, in gold or silver, cash. And it wasn't just money. Artworks, horses, grain, weapons. Napoleon's armies conducted systematic inventories in every territory they passed through. Anyone who's been to the Louvre knows. Italian painting galleries, Dutch masters, Flemish canvases. What are they doing here? Napoleon's armies carried off art crate by crate as they passed through Italy, Holland, and Germany. Some were called gifts. Some were counted as indemnities. Some were outright confiscations. The paintings you see today are actually evidence of war invoices. Now, let's get to the critical question. Think about why this system was fragile. To collect indemnities, you have to win the war. To win the war, you have to spend money on the army. To spend money on the army, you need indemnities. Napoleon's war machine was, economically speaking, like a bicycle that collapses the moment you stop pedaling. And now I'm going to tell you how those pedals stopped. 1805, the Battle of Trafalgar. The French Navy was torn apart by Admiral Nelson's fleets. That day, Napoleon understood this. He couldn't beat Britain at sea. So what did he do? He declared the Continental Blockade. With the Berlin Decree, Napoleon banned British goods from entering all ports on the continent. The logic was this: Britain lives on exports. If exports are cut off, factories stop. When factories stop, unemployment explodes. When unemployment explodes, the people revolt, and Britain asks for peace. On paper, nearly perfect. In reality, a complete disaster. Imagine a merchant in Amsterdam. For years, you've been buying British textiles and selling them on the continent. One morning, you read the Berlin Decree. It's over. Your ships are rusting in the harbor. Your warehouse stock becomes worthless. And Napoleon's informants are about to knock on your door for breaking the blockade. Hamburg, Amsterdam, Genoa, Europe's great trading cities were effectively paralyzed. What did Napoleon do to cities he suspected would break the blockade? He annexed them directly. The Netherlands was absorbed into France in 1810 just to bring the blockade under control. And Britain? The British barely felt the blockade because they ruled the seas. They easily expanded into Latin America, India, and Africa. In 1810, British exports broke records. The blockade didn't burn its target, it burned everything around the one who lit the fire. But the real destruction hadn't even started yet. Spain and Russia struck such a blow to Napoleon's treasury system that it didn't just shake it, it rotted it from the core. In 1808, Napoleon made a mistake. A big mistake. He invaded Spain. Because Spain wasn't like previous targets. In Prussia, there was an army, you defeated it, took the indemnity, moved on. In Spain, you defeated the army too. But the real enemy was still standing. The guerrilla. This word entered our lives from that very war. It means little war in Spanish. French soldiers thought they controlled Spain, but every passing supply convoy was ambushed. Every village was a potential trap. No position was safe. Imagine a passage from a French soldier's diary. We march in the morning. In the afternoon, my comrades disappear one by one. At night, we don't even know who was killed where. This isn't war. This is a swamp. And that swamp lasted from 1808 to 1814. 6 years. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers every year. The indemnity economy went into reverse. Instead of extracting from Spain, he was spending to hold Spain. Then came Russia, 1812. The Grande Armée, 600,000 soldiers. Think about that number, 600,000. Entered Russia. Returned. Didn't even reach 100,000. But nobody talks about the financial dimension. The weapons, uniforms, horses, cannons, supplies, ammunition of 600,000 soldiers. All of it was left in the snow of Russia. This wasn't just human tragedy. This was an imperial fortune buried in the frozen Russian steppes. And what did the system require? Build a new army immediately. A new army needs money. For money, you need either a new victory or taxes. In 1812 to 1813, neither existed. So who paid this bill? The answer will surprise you because the list is very long, and behind every name is a completely different story of ruin. Who paid the bill for the Napoleonic Wars? Everyone, but not equally. France both won and lost at first. Indemnities flowed in, the economy grew. But look at the population statistics that generations of young men were consumed on the fronts. France's population growth rate fell decades behind rival European countries. For Prussia, the numbers speak. The indemnities paid after the defeat at Jena were so crushing that, according to some historians, Prussia's budget deficit wasn't fully closed until the 1870s. A single defeat wiped out a generation's wealth. Poland is the most painful story. Napoleon promised freedom to the Poles, and in a sense, he delivered. The Duchy of Warsaw was established. The Poles fought with enthusiasm. But the duchy also had to feed the French war machine. For years, they bled for French armies. In the end, neither freedom nor money remained. When the war ended, they were partitioned again, this time not at Napoleon's negotiating table, but at the victor's table. And now, let's get to the most interesting case. Britain. The British financed the war not with taxes, but with debt. National debt nearly doubled during the war. Logically, shouldn't they have gone bankrupt? They didn't, because the British financial system was extremely sophisticated. The bond market functioned. Interest was paid. Investors trusted it. And all that debt remained a manageable burden after the war.